In this video, we show you how to create new datasets and projects in Clarity using single or multiple data sources. Once you're logged into Clarity, the home page displays your list of datasets and projects. Revealed here is the basic relationship that datasets will have 0 or more projects associated with them. Though a dataset can be defined without a project, it's only through its associated projects that they can be opened and have Clarity data functions applied to the data. In Clarity, a dataset is a collection of row-column data from one or more data sources. Supported Clarity data sources include files of various types, web sources, databases, and various TIBCO sources. Once the data sources for the dataset have been selected and the dataset is created, it serves as the base upon which you can create projects for viewing and manipulating the data. Each project will contain all or a subset of the data from the dataset. Multiple projects allow you to manage large amounts of data. Varying sets of Clarity data functions can be applied to each project separately, providing you a means to analyze and transform the data in multiple ways. A new dataset is added by clicking the Create Dataset button on the home page. You'll be immediately presented with choices for data sources. In this video, we'll be using the My Computer option, through which you'll select data files on your computer. Shown on this panel are the Clarity-supported data types. Select Choose File. Here we choose a CSV file. The contents of the file are displayed. You can then use the available options on this panel to control how the file contents should be parsed during the import into the dataset.
For each file you select for import, you'll be presented a unique set of options for interpreting and parsing the data to be used in the dataset.
There are also some options that control how the data will be formatted and stored. When you click Next, you're returned to the previous panel, where you'll see the file in a list. You can select Done Adding to complete the data import, or you can select additional data sources for this dataset. We go ahead and choose an Excel file. And you can see that the parsing options are unique for this data source file type. Next, we choose an XML file. The parsing step requires that we choose a root element so that Clarity can determine how to arrange the data into columns and rows. In this example, the student element is the parent element of both student ID and score, and thus 2 columns of data are generated for the dataset. When you finish selecting data sources, you can customize the dataset name, which will otherwise default to the name of the first data source chosen. Choose Done Adding. This presents you with a panel through which you can configure how the various columns from your data sources will be mapped into a single set of columns in your dataset. You can do this manually, or you can select Auto Map, which will simply map columns with the same name from your source files to identically named target columns in the new dataset. However, this approach excludes columns that have different names. If your columns have different names, you can still merge them into the new dataset, but you'll have to do it manually. You can also select multiple source columns to produce a single column. As you configure your mappings, you can see the changes to your data in the lower preview pane. Clarity generates a default name for the dataset columns. You can rename the target columns in the dataset and see your changes immediately in preview. You can also change the dataset column order. When you're finished configuring the data mapping, click Next to generate the dataset. The next panel is used to create a project within your dataset. You're presented with tabbed subpanels for each data source you've associated with this dataset. There also exists a field for customizing the new project name. As you click through the tabs for each data source, a preview of the data rows currently selected for the project appears in the lower frame. At this point, you could alternatively select Cancel to produce the dataset without a project. Otherwise, use the tabs for each data source to configure which rows to include in the project. For each data source, you can select a range of rows, a percentage of rows, or you can load every nth row from a data source. As you make your selections, the preview will update accordingly. When you click Done, you'll observe that the new project has been created. Now you can begin to apply the available Clarity data functions to the row-column data in the project. Adding additional projects to an existing dataset is simple. Just return to the home page, mouse over a dataset, and select the New Project option. You'll be presented with the New Project panel, where you can once again use the tabs for each data source to control which data rows will be included in this new project. This concludes this demonstration on how to create new datasets and projects in Clarity